and last-minute meetings that could have been emails. But the worst was the night he called me at 2 a.m. Hello?
Chloe, I need you at the office right now. No questions asked.
For a second, I thought I was dreaming. Mark, it's 2 in the morning. What's going on?
There's an issue with the quarterly report. It needs to be redone before the morning meeting. Get here in 30 minutes and quit asking me silly questions.
I sat up, fully awake now. My apartment wasn't in the safest neighborhood, and going out at that hour wasn't just inconvenient. It was dangerous. Can't this wait until morning? I can come in early and quickly correct the issue.
Did I stutter? I need you here. Or should I find someone else who's actually serious about this job?
I knew I had no choice. If I refused, he'd find a way to punish me. So I got dressed, called for a ride, and headed to the office feeling so frustrated. When I arrived, the office was eerily empty. Mark sat at his desk, looking completely unbothered.
Took you long enough. You should have been a snail if you would be this slow as a human. Get to work.
I wanted to scream, and started fixing the report. My hands were shaking from exhaustion, my brain foggy from lack of sleep, but I kept working. Minutes turned into hours. At 4 a.m., I finally hit save and turned to Mark. It's done. Is there anything else?
I wish there was. You can leave now.
I stared at him in shock. No appreciation, no acknowledgement of the insane hour. It's funny how power changes people. Some handle it with grace, using their authority to uplift those around them. Others let it twist them into something unrecognizable. Mark Simmons was one of the latter. Hi, my name is Chloe, and this is my story. When I first started working at the company, Mark wasn't a manager. He was just another employee, someone trying to climb the corporate ladder like the rest of us. Back then, he was decent. He wasn't my best friend, but he was approachable, very friendly and even helpful when he wanted to be. I remember my first day on the job. I was fresh out of college and nervous as hell. Mark was one of the first people to introduce himself.
You must be Chloe. Welcome aboard. Don't worry, this place isn't as scary as it seems.
He showed me around, gave me tips on how to impress the higher-ups, and even cracked a joke to put me at ease. I remember thinking he's someone I can work with, and for a while, that's exactly how it was. Whenever I had questions, he answered them. If I needed advice on a project, he offered suggestions. He wasn't overly generous, but he was fair, a decent coworker. But then Mark asked me out and wanted me to be his girlfriend. I politely told him I wasn't interested. But then he got promoted and everything changed. The moment Mark became a manager, it was like a switch flipped. The easygoing guy who used to joke around during meetings was gone. The one who gave helpful advice was now replaced with someone who scrutinized everything I did, picking apart my work for the smallest flaws. At first, I thought I was imagining it. Maybe he was just adjusting to his new role, trying to prove himself. But it wasn't just me. Everyone noticed the shift. He suddenly carried himself with an air of superiority, talking down to people he once saw as equals. It was like he'd been waiting for this moment to control us all. And for some reason, I became his favorite target. It started subtly. He dismissed my ideas in meetings, even when I knew they were good. I think if we adjust the timeline for this project, we can...
That won't work. Next.
At first, I thought he just disagreed, but then it became a pattern. He started nitpicking my work, finding faults where there weren't any. Deadlines got tighter, expectations higher. I worked late, harder than ever, but it didn't matter. Nothing I did was ever enough for him. The worst part? He acted like it was all in my head, like I was the one overreacting. My coworkers even noticed.
Mark's been on your case a lot lately.
I know, right? It's like he's looking for reasons to criticize me.
Maybe he just expects more from you. You are one of the best here.
I wanted to believe that, but deep down, I knew better. Mark wasn't pushing me because he believed in me. He was pushing me because he could. I thought things couldn't get worse with Mark, but I was wrong. It wasn't just that he criticized my work or dismissed my ideas. He was determined to make my life as miserable as possible. It started with impossible deadlines, late emails demanding changes right before submission, and last-minute meetings that could have been emails. But the worst was the night he called me at 2 a.m. Hello?
Chloe, I need you at the office right now. No questions asked.
For a second, I thought I was dreaming. Mark, it's 2 in the morning. What's going on?
There's an issue with the quarterly report. It needs to be redone before the morning meeting. Get here in 30 minutes and quit asking me silly questions.
I sat up, fully awake now. My apartment wasn't in the safest neighborhood, and going out at that hour wasn't just inconvenient. It was dangerous. Can't this wait until morning? I can come in early and quickly correct the issue.
Did I stutter? I need you here. Or should I find someone else who's actually serious about this job?
I knew I had no choice. If I refused, he'd find a way to punish me. So I got dressed, called for a ride, and headed to the office feeling so frustrated. When I arrived, the office was eerily empty. Mark sat at his desk, looking completely unbothered.
Took you long enough. You should have been a snail if you would be this slow as a human. Get to work.
I wanted to scream. Instead, I opened my laptop and started fixing the report. My hands were shaking from exhaustion, my brain foggy from lack of sleep, but I kept working. Minutes turned into hours. At 4 a.m., I finally hit save and turned to Mark. It's done. Is there anything else?
I wish there was. You can leave now.
I stared at him in shock. No appreciation, no acknowledgement of the insane hour. He just asked me to leave like I was some slave. My normal shift starts at 7. Can I at least come in a little later?
No. Be on time, else you'll be punished.
I could feel my body shutting down. But I left, went home, and tried to sleep, only to wake up to my alarm 3 hours later. I dragged myself back to the office, fighting through the exhaustion. My head was pounding, my body felt like lead, and I barely had the strength to keep my eyes open. I got in at 7:30, 30 minutes late. Mark was waiting for me at my desk, arms crossed, with a smug look on his face.
You're late.
I was here at 2 in the morning, Mark.
And work starts at 7 and you're 30 minutes late. I'm deducting this from your salary.
I felt like I'd been slapped. I had given everything to this job, sacrificed my sleep, my sanity. And still, it wasn't enough. I wanted to scream, to quit on the spot. But I didn't, because I needed the money. I knew Mark didn't care about me, but I never expected him to push me so far that my body would give up completely. It happened on a Friday night. Everyone had left the office except me. Mark had piled extra work on my desk right before closing time. Reports, spreadsheets, revisions, things that weren't even in my job description. I was exhausted, but I knew if I refused, there would be consequences. So I stayed. The hours dragged on. Midnight came and went. My head was pounding, my hands shaking as I typed. My body felt like it was running on fumes, but Mark didn't care. He was still there too, sitting in his office, pretending to work while scrolling through his phone. Every now and then, he'd walk past my desk, making sure I was still there, still working like some machine that never got tired. At some point, I stopped keeping track of time. My vision blurred. The words on my screen swam together. I tried to focus, but everything felt heavy. And then, I fainted. I didn't remember hitting the floor. But when I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. Apparently, the cleaner had found me on the floor when she came in for her shift. She saved me. Mark had left me there after I fainted and went home like nothing happened. The doctor said I was overworked and dehydrated. My body had just shut down. I had to stay in the hospital for a week to recover. The day I returned to the office, I was barely inside when Mark was waiting for me, holding a white envelope.
You're fired.
I stared at him. I was so shocked and confused. How could he fire me right after I returned from the hospital? I asked him why, and his excuse was that I'd been gone for a week, and they needed someone reliable. I couldn't breathe. Mark, please. I was in the hospital. You made me stay late. I was overworked because of you.
Not my problem. Take your stuff and leave.
I begged and pleaded. I had given everything to this company. But he just smirked, turned his back, and walked away. That was it. That was how he rendered me jobless. For weeks, I tried to find something new. I sent out resumes, went to interviews, but nothing worked. It was like the world had turned its back on me. I was running out of money. My savings were draining fast. I felt helpless and stuck. Then, a friend of mine introduced me to Forex trading. At first, I was hesitant because it felt risky, but I had no other options. I invested half of my savings, and in 4 months, I was insanely rich. With the money I made from Forex trading, I didn't just stop there. I invested in businesses, real estate, tech startups, anything that showed promise. And I made millions. My life transformed in a way I never imagined. A year later, I couldn't believe how rich I'd become. One day, while scrolling through the news, I saw a familiar name. It was my former company, the company where I had discarded like trash. Seeing the company made me remember how Mark treated me, and I felt angry all over again. But then, in the news, I saw that they were on the verge of shutting down over bankruptcy. I couldn't believe it. What has happened in 1 year? Before I left, the company had so much potential of doing even better. How did they go bankrupt? Then, an idea suddenly came to me. I was going to buy the company. And I did. I bought the company, its assets, and its workers. The news hit like an earthquake. The employees were shocked, but no one was more stunned than Mark. The man who once held power over me now stood before me, speechless and shocked. He had always seen me as beneath him, someone to step on. Now I was his boss and his owner.
Chloe, I'm so happy for your growth. Wow.
He was shaking, probably expecting me to fire him on the spot. And for a second, I considered it. But then, I had a better idea. I made him my personal assistant. Usually, his salary would be high. But I paid him even lesser than the gatekeeper. I let every single employee send him on errands and speak to him however they pleased. No title, no power, no authority. Just a glorified errand boy. For 3 months, Mark endured daily humiliation. He ran for coffee, printed hundreds of papers, rushed back and forth between offices, and even got yelled at by interns. One day, he made a small mistake, and I punished him by making him clean the toilets. He was stunned but obeyed. He had a family to support, and his wife had just given birth. He needed the money and was too scared to risk getting fired. Another time, I told him we had a meeting at 1 a.m. in the office. He woke up, drove there in the middle of the night, and waited. But I never showed up. When he called, I had already put my phone on silent and went to sleep. I didn't arrive at the office until 8 a.m., where I found Mark still waiting for me, exhausted and frustrated. I didn't even apologize. I just smirked and walked into my office. One day, after another grueling shift, he came into my office, looking utterly drained.
I can't do this anymore. I'm drained and exhausted. I quit.
I almost laughed at him. He really thought he could just walk away? I leaned forward, pretending to be understanding. Mark, don't be so hasty. What if I paid you 4 times your salary? His eyes lit up. He was so desperate and stupid that he believed me. He stayed for 2 more months, but I never paid him the extra money or any money at all. Instead, I gave him more work, more stress, more humiliation. Every time he asked about his raise, I'd smile and say, soon. He kept pushing through, waiting for that big payday that would never come. Until one day, he just stopped coming to work. Later, I heard he had been hospitalized. He was overworked, stressed, and completely broken, just how I'd been when I was under him. And me, I was happy, because I finally had my revenge. I later heard that when he was discharged from the hospital and money was tight, he took up a receptionist position at a hotel and is even underpaid. Ever since, he has become a changed man and is now humble. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel.
Wheels? That's a good one. Right? We gotta keep him on his toes. Oh wait, my bad. He can't be on his toes. Damn, man, you're ruthless. I couldn't believe it. He wasn't just ignoring the harassment, he was joining in. Are you kidding me? Officer Jamal, you're supposed to be here to help. Help with what? Some light workplace banter? Looks to me like you're just looking for a reason to cry victim. Travis and Dean were grinning like they just won a prize. Man, Jace, you gotta lighten up. No wonder nobody likes working with you. This isn't banter. You've sabotaged my chair. You've made work hell for me. And yet you're still here. Sounds like you like playing the martyr. You're among those weak white men who are always crying to be helped. And yet you're still here. Sounds like you like playing the martyr. You're among those weak white men who are always crying to be helped. You should be glad to be associated with Travis and Dean. They're the few strong white men out there. I was shaking. I felt angry and helpless at how much he was humiliating me in front of my bullies. You know what, officer? Since you're here, maybe you should teach our boy Jace some survival skills, like how to stand up for himself. Nah, I think that ship sailed. Can't stand up if you never did to begin with. They all burst into laughter again. I felt so ashamed. I wanted to leave, but I refused to give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. You're all pathetic. And yet, you're the one who came crying for help, weakling. I sat there and watched him exchange numbers with the guys, promising to see them around. Afterward, he left. The guys both mocked me and even pushed me off the chair before laughing and running off. Hi, my name is Jace, and this is my unfortunate encounter with a black cop. I rolled into the police station one day, my hands gripping the wheels of my chair tighter than usual. I hated going there. It wasn't the first time I'd had to report something, but it was the first time it had gotten this bad. The bullying at work had escalated. What started as whispers behind my back had turned into stolen files, coffee accidentally spilled on my lap, and even a few of my wheelchair's screws mysteriously loosening. I knew it wasn't all in my head. I needed to report it before things got worse. I reached the front desk at the station and cleared my throat. The officer behind it barely looked up. Hi, I need to report workplace harassment. Take a seat. I felt even more frustrated because, clearly, he hadn't even looked at me. I'm already sitting. That got his attention. His eyes flicked up, scanning my chair before he laughed as if I'd cracked a joke. Right, give me a second. He disappeared into the back, leaving me alone in the waiting area. My patience was running thin. I wasn't asking for special treatment, I just wanted to be taken seriously. A few minutes later, a tall officer walked out. He was different from the other officer, and his badge read Jamal Carter. He looked around the place before finally looking at me, as if he couldn't believe I needed help. You the one making the complaint? Yes, that's me. Jamal crossed his arms, staring at me like I was wasting his time. All right, what's the problem? It's about my coworkers. They've been harassing me at work, and it's becoming unbearable. Harassing or just joking around? Harassing. Joking around doesn't involve sabotaging my wheelchair. Are you sure it wasn't just an accident? Maybe you're being a little sensitive? No, I'm not being sensitive. Someone loosened the screws on my chair. I almost fell. But you didn't. Why are you being unnecessarily dramatic? I was so shocked. I couldn't believe I'd heard him correctly. How could he suggest me being dramatic? Are you serious? Listen, man, work environments can be tough. You gotta have thick skin. Maybe they're just treating you like everyone else. By sabotaging my chair? No, by not babying you. I couldn't believe he was implying that I was expecting special treatment. I don't need to be babied. I need to be safe at my job. And did anyone physically touch you? No, but then it's not a crime. You're being dramatic. He smirked, like he'd just won some argument. I knew I had no other choice. As much as I hated the way Officer Jamal was treating me, I thought he was still my best shot at getting this taken seriously. If I could just get him to see it firsthand, maybe he'd stop dismissing me. Come with me to my workplace and see it for yourself. You want me to waste my time following you to your office? For what? Because if you actually see what they're doing, maybe you'll realize this isn't just in my head. Jamal sighed, rubbing his jaw as if debating whether it was worth his time. Then, with an exaggerated groan, he nodded. Fine, let's go. But if I don't see anything serious, we're done here. I didn't respond. I just turned my chair toward the exit, pushing forward with determination. This was my chance. Thankfully, my workplace wasn't far from the station, so we walked there. But Officer Jamal refused to walk beside me. He crossed to the other side of the street, pretending we weren't together. I didn't mind. My main focus was to make him see I wasn't being dramatic. When we finally reached my workplace, he looked shocked. Wow, I didn't expect a guy like you to be working somewhere this nice. A guy like me? You know what I mean. How many of your fellow handicaps do you see working in such a big company? I was offended, but I didn't respond to him. As we entered the building, I immediately spotted Travis and Dean, my two coworkers and the main source of my misery. They were standing by the break room, laughing about something, but the moment they saw me, their smirks widened. Well, look who decided to roll in. Did you get lost on the way to the pity parade? I forced myself to stay calm, because that was my only chance to prove what was happening to Officer Jamal. Officer Jamal is here to investigate workplace harassment. Harassment, huh? You two picking on the little guy? Travis and Dean burst into laughter as if someone told a joke. Us? Picking on Jace? Nah, man, we're just keeping things light. He's part of the team. Yeah, we treat him just like anyone else. Ain't that right, Wheels? When they called me by that silly nickname again, I turned to Jamal, expecting him to at least say something. Instead, he was smiling. Wheels? That's a good one. Right? We gotta keep him on his toes. Oh wait, my bad. He can't be on his toes. Damn, man, you're ruthless. I couldn't believe it. He wasn't just ignoring the harassment, he was joining in. Are you kidding me? Officer Jamal, you're supposed to be here to help. Help with what? Some light workplace banter? Looks to me like you're just looking for a reason to cry victim. Travis and Dean were grinning like they just won a prize. Man, Jace, you gotta lighten up. No wonder nobody likes working with you. This isn't banter. You've sabotaged my chair. You've made work hell for me. And yet you're still here. Sounds like you like playing the martyr. You're among those weak white men who are always crying to be helped. You should be glad to be associated with Travis and Dean. They're the few strong white men out there. I was shaking. I felt angry and helpless at how much he was humiliating me in front of my bullies. You know what, officer? Since you're here, maybe you should teach our boy Jace some survival skills, like how to stand up for himself. Nah, I think that ship sailed. Can't stand up if you never did to begin with. They all burst into laughter again. I felt so ashamed. I wanted to leave, but I refused to give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. You're all pathetic. And yet, you're the one who came crying for help, weakling. I sat there and watched him exchange numbers with the guys, promising to see them around. Afterward, he left. The guys both mocked me and even pushed me off the chair before laughing and running off. Days turned into weeks, and almost every day, Officer Jamal made a point to show up at my workplace. He wasn't there to check on any cases. He was there to join Travis and Dean in their torment. It became a routine. They'd stand around my desk, making offhand remarks loud enough for others to hear, but low enough to maintain some plausible deniability. Must be nice, getting that special treatment, huh, Jace? Rolling around while the rest of us actually work. Yeah, man. You think they let you stay just so they don't look bad for kicking out the office mascot? Y'all are too much. But hey, gotta admit, he does add some diversity to the team. I refused to react. I knew what they wanted. They wanted to see me break, to lash out, to give them a reason to turn things around on me. But the worst part wasn't even their words. It was the way Jamal treated Travis and Dean like his closest friends. He was being racist to me for being white, but wasn't the same to Travis and Dean. You boys let me know if Wheels here gives you any trouble, all right? Can't have him thinking he runs this place. They laughed like it was the funniest thing in the world. Every day, the humiliation piled on. Every day, I endured it. Until one day, everything changed. My boss called me into his office. I wondered if something else had gone wrong, if I was about to get blamed for something, or if Travis and Dean had told him something that would lead to me losing my job. However, the reverse was the case. One of the interns came to me yesterday. He told me about everything. He knows what has been happening, the way those men have been treating you, the officer too. Oh no. I'm so sorry, sir. I can't stop them because it might lead to a fight or worse. You don't have to explain or apologize. You don't have to defend yourself. I should have seen it sooner, and I'm sorry. I had spent so long thinking no one noticed, or worse, that no one cared. I felt so touched. I will handle this, trust me. The next day, everything came crashing down. Two uniformed officers, both white, walked into the office. The room went silent. Travis and Dean looked up, confused but unconcerned, until the officers walked straight toward them. Travis Miller, Dean Coleman, you're both under arrest. For what? What the hell is this? You can't just arrest us. Yes, we can, and we are doing that now. Let's go. They were handcuffed right there in front of everyone. My boss stood beside me with his arms crossed, watching everything unfold. Can I come with you, sir? Of course, this is about you. We arrived at the station, where I was met with an even bigger surprise. Jamal was there too, and he was in cuffs. His usual stupid smirk was gone. Officer Carter. Wow, how the mighty have fallen. I didn't expect to see you here. This is some bullshit. You really think you can take me down? I'm a cop. Not anymore. You were a cop who bullied a citizen in need of your help. Shame on you. I filed my case against all three of them, and this time, it wasn't just my word against theirs. Two witnesses from my office stepped forward. They had seen everything, and they spoke up. And then there was the security footage. The cameras had caught it all, including the audio. They were done for when the case was scheduled for hearing. The three of them desperately tried to stop me from pursuing it, but I refused. They needed to pay for torturing me. At the court, all three were found guilty. Officer Jamal was insulted by the judge for being the opposite of what his uniform and title stood for. He was completely stripped off power and got an extra 1-year imprisonment to the 5 years each of them were given. On their way to jail, the car they were in was involved in a fatal accident. The driver and the officer in the car sustained just little injuries, but Travis, Dean, and Officer Jamal, who were at the back of the car, all suffered spine injuries. After 6 months of receiving treatment, they ended up in wheelchairs. When I heard how karma had repaid them for their evil deeds, I felt happy and grateful to the universe. They got what they deserved. I later heard that the three of them are now called wheelchair boys and are constantly mocked by other inmates. The funny part is that no one cares when they complain, and people openly make fun of them. Since they're disabled, they can barely defend themselves. I even heard that Jamal was once pushed down a flight of stairs, and the inmate who did it just shrugged it off as a mistake. The worst part? The three of them were forced to race for the entertainment of other inmates. I still plan on visiting them. What do you think I should say? Comment below. Hi, my name is George, and I have an older brother called Charlie. Charlie is, and always has been, my rock. Growing up, he was the kind of person who would take a beating for me, who would always stand up for me no matter what. He was my protector, my best friend, the one person I knew I could always count on. I remember one instance where he came to my class in the middle of the day to berate my maths teacher for always picking on me. No matter who he had to go against, nothing was going to get in the way of my big brother protecting me. I'd run to the ends of the earth and back for you, Georgie Porgy. Now, how about we go out and play a game of b-ball? My big brother was a star athlete. He played basketball for the school. Then, 1 year into his college scholarship, everything changed. We thought he was set up for a bright future, but life can be cruel. One night, on the way back from a game, Charlie was in a terrible accident. A drunk driver ran a red light and left him broken, barely alive. He survived, but he would never walk again. I remember standing in the hospital room, holding his hand as he struggled to process the news. I guess I won't be winning any more games, huh? He laughed, but I saw the pain in his eyes, the frustration, the humiliation. He had lost so much, and there was nothing I could do to fix it. But I swore I would always be there for him, just like he had always been there for me. He was trying to be strong for me, I could see, but I would take on that job now. I would be strong for him instead. Our first summer break since the accident. We usually went to a water park for a few weeks, camping out and going ATV riding. That wasn't possible anymore. Instead, my dad and I worked on a special bicycle attachment so that we could still go mountain biking with Charlie. He had a great time. Then, we put him in a canoe and went whitewater rafting. We made sure Charlie still go to enjoy his life. He was a good man and deserved everything. For the next few years, we continued to live with his condition and learned to not let it get in the way. When I was 22, I met the love of my life, Sophia, my fiancée. The woman I thought I loved, the woman I thought loved me. She was everything social media adored. Beautiful, charming, a rising influencer with millions of followers who worshipped her every post. She had one problem though. She cared more about her image than anything else, including me. My brother tried to warn me. Georgie, I know you don't want to hear this, little brother, but your girlfriend is vapid. She's not good for you. Don't be like that, Charlie. I know you're upset that you're having a hard time getting a girlfriend, but there's nothing wrong with Sophia. Don't take your frustrations out on her. I felt awful the moment I said it, and Charlie wheeled himself away from me before I could apologize. But I was upset too. Why would he be so mean about Sophia? She'd been nothing but wonderful to me. After a few years, we decided to get married. Charlie and I had since made up with each other. We continued to hang out just like before, taking trips together even though it was harder to travel with him. I didn't mind.
Why do we have to take him with us? He's just a burden on us.
Haha. Don't be silly. Sure, it's a little more work, but it's worth it. He's my brother. I like spending time with him. She crossed her arms and rolled her eyes. On the vacation, I noticed that she filmed a lot, but never took any shots of my brother. I didn't say anything at first, because I didn't think any of it. But when I watched her videos later, I noticed that she'd cut the camera before my brother was in any of the shots. Darling, I noticed that you've edited my brother out of your videos. Did he not give consent to be filmed?
I didn't ask.
Oh? I'm sure he'd say yes.
Okay,
She never did ask though, and the videos continued to show everything except my brother. I remembered the conversation I'd had with Charlie when I first met Sophia, and I started to get an uncomfortable feeling in my gut. Maybe she really was vapid and was hiding my brother because she didn't like him. I was blinded by love, or maybe just by the carefully curated version of her she wanted me to see. But the cracks started to show the closer we got to the wedding.
I feel bad for him, I really do. But George, the wedding photos? You know I have so many followers. What will they think of me marrying a brother of a disabled person?
She said it so casually, like it was just another inconvenience. Like my brother, my rock, was nothing more than an aesthetic issue to her. I should have walked away then. I should have run. But I didn't, because I was an idiot. Well, he's my best man, so he'd be next to me.
Isn't there anything I can do to change your mind?
Sophia, I don't understand. Why would you want to?
It doesn't matter,
I suspected that it did matter, though. Later that night, I overheard a conversation. Sophia was on the phone. I pulled out my phone to film her because I was beginning to understand the woman I had planned to marry.
Don't get it. Why would he want a cripple in our wedding photos? He'll ruin everything. My TikTok is just getting to 10 million. I don't want to ruin it now. He won't be in my photos if I have anything to do with it.
I assumed that she would bribe the photographer, so I worked to make sure that everyone else would take photos too. This way, I wouldn't have to miss out on those family photos. I figured I'd have a conversation with Sophia after the wedding. I still loved her, but I figured the stress was getting to her, and it was making her act crazy. Crazy was the right word for it. The night before our wedding, I was at my bachelor party. Just a small gathering. Nothing wild, just some drinks with close friends. Charlie was supposed to be there. He was my best man after all, but he never showed. I did everything I could to contact him. I called him, texted, called my parents. No one knew where he was. A pit grew in my stomach. Something wasn't right. Charlie never ignored my calls. Hey guys, I can't get a hold of Charlie. Can we go to his place and check in on him? Of course. Together, the group of us went to Charlie's house, and that pit in my stomach grew into the Mariana Trench. On the porch of his house, there was a wheelchair with scratches on the seat, and beside it, his smashed-up cell phone. We need to call the cops. I called immediately. Hello, my brother is missing. His phone was smashed and his wheelchair was left behind. Please don't panic, sir. Your brother is a grown man. I'm sure he just went out to get some air. My brother is paralyzed from the waist down. He can't just get some air. But the officer wasn't listening. I hung up and turned to my friends. The police won't do anything. It's up to us to find him. I'm so lucky to have such good friends. Between us, we called every hospital in a 10-mile radius, looked into the security around his house, and even called neighbors. One of them gave us a lead. She said she'd seen a car outside his house for a while. When she told us the license plate number, I knew what had happened. I used the car tracking app I had on my phone and read out an address to my friend who hacked into the security where the car was parked. Here, it's Sophia. He was right. He showed me Sophia's car pulling into an abandoned warehouse. My stomach dropped. We all piled back into the car, and I drove like a madman, my mind racing with every terrible possibility. And when I got there, Charlie. He was tied to a chair and his face bruised. When he saw me, all traces of fear left his face.
Oh my God, George, what are you doing here?
What the hell is this? She actually rolled her eyes, like I was overreacting, like kidnapping my brother was just some minor inconvenience.
Look, I didn't want him ruining the wedding, okay? He's disabled and miserable, and I couldn't have that energy there. The photos, George, the mood, it's my day.
Your day?
Yes. Oh my God, you're acting like I killed him. He's fine, aren't you, Charlie?
Charlie just glared at her. He didn't say a word. I untied him. My friends helped him back into his chair. Then I turned to Sophia. The wedding is off. She gasped like I had just slapped her.
George, don't be dramatic.
I'm being dramatic? You evil witch. You kidnapped my brother to save your wedding photos. And just like that, I walked away. Or at least, that's what I thought. Because Sophia wasn't done with me. After the wedding disaster, I tried to move on. I met someone new, had kids, and built a life. But Sophia? She was always watching. Then one day, someone sent me a live stream, and in it, I saw my kids. Apparently, Sophia had disguised herself as a school employee, gone to my kids' school, and taken them home with her. She had been using them for content, recording them without my permission, forcing them to do dangerous stunts just for views. One video, she made them jump into a freezing lake for a challenge. Another, she had them hang off a balcony while she filmed their reaction. I tracked my kids' phones and went straight to Sophia's house. What the heck is wrong with you?
Don't be stupid, George. I'm making your kids money for their future.
Did you pretend to be a school employee just to get your hands on my kids to make money?
You should be thanking me. I have over 20 million fans now. It was so worth it.
My new wife and I were incensed. We knew we needed to do something. It was my wife's idea in the end.
She has to be exposed. She hurt our kids, so we'll hurt her fame.
So I started leaking. Every disgusting thing she had done. Every staged charity act. Every fake apology. The moment her life was in question, people started digging. You can trust the internet to look for justice. Videos surfaced of her screaming at the kids off camera, of her faking abuse stories for sympathy, of her bragging about how dumb her followers were. Within 24 hours, she'd lost all her fans. Her sponsors demanded their money back. She couldn't leave her apartment for fear of repercussions. She deserved everything she got, but I wanted her to crash and burn. So I dealt the final blow. I sent a very special video to the police. The one where she admitted to kidnapping Charlie. The one where she laughed about it. The one where she said,
He's lucky I didn't just leave him in the woods.
My kids were standing outside of her apartment while she was arrested, live on their stream. She screamed and begged, but no one cared. The same followers who had worshipped her laughed. The last time I saw her, she was in court, pleading for leniency. I just smiled and said, I hope the prison has terrible Wi-Fi. I made sure to record the whole process and posted it online. Since she craved fame, I helped her achieve her goal, just not in the way she wanted. She was sentenced to 4 years for kidnapping, child endangerment, and other charges. Later, I sent her a screenshot of my channel while she was in prison, showing her just how infamous she had become. She was trending, but for all the wrong reasons. Inside jail, she was nicknamed the influencer Sophia, but not in a way she would have liked. The other inmates hated how she had treated my brother, and many of them isolated her. She became a punching bag for a lot of them, and things got so bad that she eventually attempted to take her own life. But she was saved. Thanks for watching.
Oh my God, Erica. How long has this been going on?
For months he's kissed me, Helen. He's hugged me in ways that don't feel right. Some nights he will come to my room and forcefully touch me. I've told him to stop, but he won't. Instead, he said that if I ever tell anyone, he will kill me. I am scared.
Rage boiled inside me. Hi, my name is Helen, and I wanted to share my life story with you. I will admit, though, that it isn't the most uplifting story, but I'm hoping that anyone that needs to hear it will do so, and find it inspiring for them. You see, my story is about cutting toxic people out of your life, and I know that sometimes people have a hard time doing so maybe hearing about what I went through will give you the courage you need. At any rate, when I was 6 years old, my mother got very ill and she died. The details of what lead up to her death are blurry to me now, more a shadow of sadness than a sharp memory. What I do remember is the emptiness that filled our house afterward, and my father, David, struggling to adapt to a world without her. He became an odd, distant figure in my life. Not cruel, not neglectful, just absent in all the ways that mattered. Of course, leading up to that, we hadn't exactly been all that close. We didn't really have a lot of overlapping interests. My father loved sports and war novels, while I loved board games and fantasy stories. Our worlds barely intersected, and when they did, it was awkward and forced. We ate dinner together. It was usually in front of the television so that we wouldn't have to talk, and the few times when we did talk, it was usually just surface-level stuff. I did try to include him in my hobbies, but he never seemed interested. Dad, do you want to play this game with me? It's called Mystic Quest. It's about adventurers battling mythical creatures.
Not really my thing, Helen. Why don't you play it with one of your friends?
Sorry. I just thought maybe it could be something we could try to do together.
Yeah. No thanks, kiddo. I'd rather watch paint dry. This is really something more for kids. Like I said, just find one of your friends to play with.
Friends weren't easy to come by, but I didn't tell him that. Instead, I watched him retreat to his armchair with another Tom Clancy novel in hand. Our conversations were sparse, our interactions minimal. I grew up in that quiet disconnection, longing for a bond that never formed. Everything changed when Bethany entered the picture. I was 16 when they met. She was warm, friendly, and brought a light into the house that I hadn't realized was missing. I know some people would feel threatened by their parent dating out of nowhere, but I found it to be a relief since there was finally other people to interact with. Plus, Bethany had a daughter, Erica, who was 2 years younger than me. Erica was sweet and shy, but we got along well enough. At first, I was hopeful. Maybe this new family dynamic would bring us closer. I was wrong. Erica and my dad hit it off instantly. She loved football and could discuss statistics and players as if she'd been following the game her entire life. She even liked his favorite war novels. I'd walk into the living room and see them laughing together, their bond forming effortlessly. It stung, but I told myself to be patient. Maybe he'd still make time for me. Hey Dad, can we go to the bookstore this weekend? There's a new fantasy series I want to check out.
Not this weekend, Helen. Erica and I are going to the big game. Maybe another time.
Maybe another time became his mantra. Meanwhile, he bought Erica tickets to concerts, jerseys signed by her favorite players, and once, a limited edition box set of her favorite war novels. When I asked for something, he'd remind me that I was old enough to start earning my own money. He even suggested that I needed to get a job because I was home far too much. One evening, he came home with a new bike, a sleek, shiny model that practically screamed expensive. Wow, Dad, is that for me?
No, it's for Erica. She's been wanting one for ages.
But so have I. Dad, it's really starting to feel like you love her more than me.
What do you mean? Oh, Helen, don't be so jealous and paranoid. The reality is that Erica hasn't had a father figure for a long time, and I'm just trying to be a good male role model for her. Someone she can compare her future husband to.
I had to stifle a laugh since my father thought that Erica could use a good male role model, while I had never had one in my entire life. I didn't know if he was being cruel on purpose or if it was all just by accident, but it stung. The sad thing was that Erica didn't even ride bikes that often. So as a gift, it didn't make much sense. And as for me, I couldn't remember the last time I'd gotten a gift at all. Obviously, I would get them for Christmas and my birthday, but even then, it was usually something practical, like school supplies. Then came the soccer game fiasco. Erica's school team made it to the finals, and Dad went all out. Custom jerseys, banners, and even a celebratory dinner planned afterward. I had asked him months earlier to come to a school board game club event where I'd been chosen as a finalist in a local competition. He'd brushed it off, saying he'd try but probably wouldn't make it. Of course, he didn't. Dad, you didn't come to my event, but you're spending all this time and money on Erica's game? It doesn't seem fair.
Helen, it's a championship game. It's a big deal. Besides, you don't need me cheering you on for board games.
Mine was a championship too, Dad. I swear, you are so inconsiderate. It's like you hate me or something.
Stop being so selfish, Helen. Of course I don't hate you. I love you and I love Erica too. It's just different with Erica.
What do you mean? Different how?
Well, never mind. Just drop it.
His responses were of course weird, but he was always being weird, so it was hard to tell if this behavior was really all that new. But yeah, it was another blow to our relationship. When I mentioned it to Bethany, she frowned and promised to talk to him, but nothing came of it. The worst moment came one evening when we went out to dinner. Bethany suggested a nice Italian place, and we all sat down to eat.
Erica, get whatever you want. It's on me.
What about me?
You've got your own money, Helen. You're self-sufficient.
I paid for my meal in silence, my appetite gone. Bethany noticed the tension and tried to smooth things over later.
David, I really appreciate you making things so accommodating for Erica, but don't you think you're being a little unfair to Helen? She's your daughter too.
Bethany, stay out of it. Helen's always been independent. She doesn't need me hovering over her.
But she does need you to be an attentive father. I really think you're pushing her away.
Well, she is my daughter. Just mind your own damn business about it. Drop it.
That argument escalated and ended in shouting, and nothing changed. The distance between us grew, and I started resenting Erica, even though I knew it wasn't her fault. She didn't ask for his favoritism. One day, Dad organized a weekend camping trip, just him and Erica. When I asked if I could join, he told me it was their thing. So I stayed home, reading alone in my room, the ache of being left out becoming almost unbearable. Each night I fell asleep crying and sobbing. Then, one day, Erica knocked on my bedroom door, her face pale and streaked with tears.
Can I talk to you?
What's wrong? She handed me her phone, her hands trembling. On the screen were texts from my father, explicit messages, promises of love, vows to leave Bethany and marry Erica when she turned 18. My stomach turned as I scrolled through them. Suddenly, my father's odd behaviors made complete sense, and it made me feel sick. Both because it was unquestionably evil of him, but also because I had resented this poor girl, and meanwhile she was suffering and going through something awful. I felt so guilty. Oh my God, Erica, how long has this been going on?
For months he's kissed me, Helen. He's hugged me in ways that don't feel right. Some nights he will come to my room and forcefully touch me. I've told him to stop, but he won't. Instead, he said that if I ever tell anyone, he will kill me. I am scared.
Rage boiled inside me. I grabbed her hand and marched downstairs to find Bethany. Together, we showed her the messages and told her everything.
I'm so sorry, Erica. I had no idea, but we're going to fix this.
That night, we confronted him. Bethany stood firm, her voice shaking with fury. I had to give it to her. The way she stood up to my father was inspiring.
David, we know everything. The texts, the letters, the way you've been treating Erica. It ends tonight. If you walk away and leave us alone, we won't press charges. But if you don't, we're calling the police.
You're all jealous, bitter bitches. You're trying to ruin my life because you can't stand that I love Erica. But we're soulmates, and we're meant to be together.
No, we're not. I don't want anything to do with you.
And now you two morons have brainwashed her.
He flew into a rage, throwing things across the room. When he lunged for Erica in an attempt to grab her and run, Bethany and I stopped him by throwing ourselves between her and him. We then began to punch him and knocked him unconscious. We then tied him up before calling the police. It was just awful. The aftermath was chaotic. David was arrested and later sentenced to 7 years in prison for assault, child abuse, grooming, and attempted kidnapping. From what I heard, he wasn't having an easy time in prison. Inmates don't take kindly to pedophiles after all. Of course, not long after he was sent off to prison, Bethany filed for divorce and even filed for full custody of me. And thankfully, the judge saw that it was prudent to not only award her the house and all the family assets, but he agreed that Bethany should have full custody of me and Erica. At first, I thought it would be awkward, but it ended up being the best thing in the world for me. With my father gone, I was finally able to spend more time with Erica and Bethany, and we really started to bond. We explored each other's interests and supported one another. It was the first time in my entire life that I finally felt like I was a part of a real family, and I loved it. My father would send me letters from time to time, apologizing and telling me that he had been beaten and stabbed several times. He said he was now scared to socialize in prison. I often replied with a single sentence, "Serves you right," followed by a laughing emoji. As far as I was concerned, he had died the day he was sent to prison, and he was no longer family. I had found myself a new family, and I would never let him back in my life ever again. Thanks for watching. I was lying in the hospital bed, hooked up to machines, when she turned to me with a fake gasp.
Amy must have taken it. She's been acting suspicious lately.
Amy, is this true?
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was too weak to argue, but I managed to speak. I didn't take anything, Dad. You have to believe me.
Of course, she'd deny it. Thieves always do. I can't believe this.
Dad looked at me, disappointment all over his face.
I can't do this anymore, Amy. You've brought nothing but trouble since your mother died.
Those words hit me harder than any illness ever could. The next day, Dad told me I wasn't welcome at home anymore.
You're old enough to figure things out on your own.
Christine stood behind him, laughing.
It's for the best, Amy. You need to learn some responsibility.
They left me in the hospital with nothing but the clothes on my back. No money, no home, no family. I was heartbroken, but I wasn't broken. I vowed to prove them wrong, to show them I was worth something. When my mom died, I thought my life would never be the same. She was everything to me. Kind, loving, and always there when I needed her. My dad, he was different. He loved her, I think, but he wasn't the kind of man who expressed it. She got sick when I was 13, and he tried his best to take care of her at first. But as her condition got worse, he gave up. He said, we couldn't afford her treatment anymore. Mom died in our small living room because we couldn't even afford to keep her in the hospital. I remember holding her hand as she whispered her last words, asking me to take care of my dad and telling me he did his best. I believed her. I really did. But 6 months later, he rented a bigger house and brought in another woman who became my stepmom, as well as her 2 sons. When Christine and her kids moved in, I hoped she would try to make things better, to fill some of the emptiness that lingered in the house after my mom's death. But I was wrong. She made things worse. So much worse. At first, she hid her true colors behind fake smiles and overly sweet words when Dad was around. But the moment he left the room, it was like a mask fell off her face.
Amy, don't just sit there like a pig. Clear the table.
This was on her first week in our home. We had just finished dinner, and I thought she was joking, but her sharp glare told me she wasn't. I'll do it in a minute. I'm sorry. I always try to relax after eating to help with digestion.
Look, I don't care if you die of indigestion. You'll do it now. Don't make me repeat myself.
It was just the beginning. Soon, clear the table turned into wash the dishes, and wash the dishes turned into cleaning the entire house.
This place is filthy. How do you even live like this? You're a girl. Don't you have any pride in keeping things tidy?
She didn't just make me clean, she made me feel like I was disgusting for not being perfect. She'd walk into a room and deliberately knock things over, then blame me for the mess.
Clean this place up again, Amy, and this time do it properly.
Even when I worked hard, it was never enough. She'd inspect my work like I was some kind of servant, and make me redo it over and over again. Then there were her ridiculous rules. I wasn't allowed to sit on the couch because she claimed I'd ruin it. I couldn't use the bathroom for more than 5 minutes because I was wasting water. And don't even get me started on meals.
You eat too much, Amy. You're not a child anymore. You don't need all that food.
She started serving me portions so small, I was constantly hungry. Meanwhile, she, her kids, and Dad would feast like kings. One time, I dared to ask for seconds at dinner. Christine, can I have a little more rice?
More? Haven't you had enough? We're not running a buffet here, you know, and we definitely don't want to start rearing pigs.
I could see my dad glance at me, but he didn't say a word. He just kept eating. The worst part was when Christine's punishments got petty and cruel. Like the time I accidentally spilled some juice on the kitchen floor.
Clean it up, and don't think you're done there. You're scrubbing the entire floor on your hands and knees.
She made me spend hours cleaning every inch of the kitchen while she sat back and scrolled through her phone. Or the time she accused me of losing her necklace, even though I never touched it.
You've always been careless, Amy. This is why I don't trust you with anything important.
But I didn't touch your necklace, Christine.
Are you calling me a liar? Go look for my necklace now, you bloody liar!
I searched the house for hours, only for her to find the necklace in her own purse. She didn't even apologize. But the thing that hurt the most wasn't Christine's cruelty. It was my dad's indifference. He saw how she treated me, but he never defended me. I asked him about it sometimes. Dad, why is she being so mean to me?
Don't exaggerate, Amy. Christine is just trying to teach you responsibility. Your mother didn't teach you well enough. That's why you see Christine's actions as cruel.
Responsibility? Was that what he called it? Forcing me to clean, cook, and eat scraps while they lived comfortably? And how dare he disrespect my late mother like that? I wanted to speak, but Christine summoned me, immediately ending the conversation. Christine had this way of twisting every situation to make it look like I was the problem. And Dad, being the spineless man he was, always believed her.
Richard, Amy's slacking off again. She tried to argue with me the other day. She has no respect for this household.
Amy, you need to listen to Christine. She's trying to help you.
Help me. She wasn't helping me. She was breaking me. Even her kids were encouraged to treat me like I was beneath them. Christine's sons followed her lead like little shadows.
Why are you sitting on the couch? Mom said you're not allowed?
They'd tattle on me for the smallest things, and Christine would blow everything out of proportion.
I told you not to sit on the couch, Amy. Do you think you're special or something? Were you about to argue with my child? How dare you? They're superior to you in this house, and you should respect them, you stupid girl.
Her boys would laugh while I stood there, humiliated. One day, I came home from school to find that Christine had gone through my things. My diary, my clothes, everything.
You have no privacy in this house, Amy. If you're hiding something, I'll find it and I'll take it. You can't do anything about it, so it's better you get a bowl to fill with your tears.
I felt violated, like nothing I owned was truly mine anymore. The final straw came when Christine accused me of stealing money. I had been saving up my little allowance for months to buy myself a new pair of shoes.
Where did you get this money, Amy? Did you take it from me?
No, I saved it.
Liar. You've been sneaking around, haven't you? Or have you started seeing boys?
She took the money, and my dad let her.
You shouldn't have stolen the money. How can you save that up? You surely stole from her. You deserve the punishment.
One day, Christine's accusations went too far. I'd been sick for weeks, coughing and running a fever. But Christine refused to let me rest.
You're not that sick, Amy. Stop being dramatic.
She would still make me do chores and barely let me rest. Eventually, I collapsed at school and was rushed to the hospital. That's when it happened. Christine showed up at the hospital with Dad. She was pacing the room, pretending to look worried, when she suddenly gasped.
Richard, my money was stolen from my bag at home, and I think Amy is here pretending to be sick after stealing my money.
I was lying in the hospital bed, hooked up to machines, when she turned to me with a fake gasp.
Amy must have taken it. She's been acting suspicious lately.
Amy, is this true?
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was too weak to argue, but I managed to speak. I didn't take anything, Dad. You have to believe me.
Of course, she'd deny it. Thieves always do. I can't believe this.
Dad looked at me, disappointment all over his face.
I can't do this anymore, Amy. You've brought nothing but trouble since your mother died.
Those words hit me harder than any illness ever could. The next day, Dad told me I wasn't welcome at home anymore.
You're old enough to figure things out on your own.
Christine stood behind him, laughing.
It's for the best, Amy. You need to learn some responsibility.
They left me in the hospital with nothing but the clothes on my back. No money, no home, no family. I was heartbroken, but I wasn't broken. I vowed to prove them wrong, to show them I was worth something. When the head doctor, Dr. Harrison, heard that I had been abandoned, he wasted no time stepping in. I was still weak, lying in a hospital bed, unsure of what would happen to me. But he reassured me like a real father.
You're not alone anymore, Amy. I'll take care of you.
True to his word, he took me into his home. His wife, Laura, and their 3 children welcomed me with open arms. For the first time in months, I felt like I belonged somewhere. I wasn't treated as a burden or a servant. I was loved. Laura made sure I caught up on school, buying me supplies and helping me with my homework. Their children treated me like a sister. They shared their rooms and everything with me. It was everything I had ever dreamed of, but never thought I'd have. Dr. Harrison didn't just stop with high school. When I expressed my dream of becoming a doctor like him, he promised to support me all the way. They paid for my college and med school, cheering me on at every milestone. 10 years later, I was no longer the scared, abandoned girl I once was. I was Dr. Amy, the head doctor at the very hospital where my life had changed. One busy afternoon, the emergency room doors burst open, and paramedics rushed in with 4 stretchers. As I approached, I couldn't hide my shock. It was my father, Christine, and her 2 sons. The paramedics explained they had been in a terrible car accident. The driver of the taxi survived without a scratch, but his passengers were badly injured. Christine and the boys were critically injured, while my father had severe trauma to his eyes. Despite everything they'd done to me, I pushed my emotions aside and ensured they received the best care possible. Hours later, the surgeries ended. Both of Christine's sons were gone. Their injuries had been too severe. When Christine regained consciousness and learned of their deaths, she let out a wail that shook the room. Her grief was so overwhelming that she suffered a heart attack, which left her with partial paralysis from a stroke. My father's injuries left him completely blind. He was devastated, but not as much as Christine, who had lost everything in one night. As head doctor, I had the difficult task of discussing their medical bills. I approached their room with my clipboard, feeling a strong sense of justice as I looked at their broken forms. Your medical bills are substantial. If you can't pay within a week, we'll have to discharge you.
We don't have that kind of money. Before this accident, we had lost almost everything to some scammers. Please, we need time.
My dad recognized my voice and wanted to hug me, but I refused and maintained a stern expression. Christine was surprised that I had become so successful.
Hey, Amy, I'm your mother. Be nice to us and help us. We are family.
No, we are not. You are all strangers to me. No. If you can't pay your bills, then you need to make arrangements to leave. They couldn't pay. I knew they couldn't. 3 days later, they were forced out of the hospital. Christine, barely able to walk, and my blind father struggling as well, I later realized my father had no choice but to beg on the streets, while my stepmom, who was partially paralyzed, lay in bed at home, unable to ever be abusive to anyone. My stepmom tried contacting me via phone severally, but I never replied and blocked her number. I never looked back. My life with the Harrisons was more than I could have ever hoped for. They taught me what family truly meant: love, support, and kindness. And while my biological father and stepmother faced the consequences of their actions, I thrived with the family I had found. Thanks for watching.